Further evidence for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, this time the state would call Officer Stroll to the stand.
Can I approach the clerk, Judge?
Yes.
May I clearly let the stand move?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Waller.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Will you please state your name for the record?
My name is Kendall Strawn.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Can you spell your last name for us?
S is in Sam, T is in Tom, R-A-C-H-A-N is in Nancy.
Thank you, Officer Strong. I want to turn your attention back to May of 2013. Were you a Raleigh police officer at that time, sir?
Yes.
And can you just tell us a little bit about what your duties and responsibilities are as a Raleigh police officer?
Police officer in Field Ops Division, 911 calls, there's self-initiated traffic stops, and other proactive work.
And on May 14th of 2013, were you on duty, duly sworn, and so employed as a Raleigh police officer?
I was.
And sir, on that date and time, did you have the opportunity to investigate some matters that were occurring around the Allister apartments?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing out there that night?
There had actually been a couple of calls that night. The first call that I was dispatched as a check-in officer was for some suspicious people in the area. Ended up coding that call out unfounded. I was unable to locate any people of the same. Drove around the same area looking for any subjects, and to my recollection, did not see any movement that night besides very light traffic. A call after that was some vehicle break-ins that were reported in that general vicinity, and I was again a check-in officer to Officer Wagner. Officer Wagner was the primary.
And Officer Strong, do you recall where you checked in the second time you went out to the Allister area, or who you spoke with?
I was in the Allister area. Initially, when I got the call, I was on Six Forks. I did document pretty thoroughly each road that I drove on. Is that what you would like me to?
Yes, sir. If you can kind of describe for us how you arrived to check in at the car break-ins.
Sure. I came from North Six Forks, north of the Beltline, north of 440, and drove down towards Ramblewood Drive, which is near that complex. I took the first left onto Bellevue, spotted a black Hyundai Elantra with its dome light on. I ran the plate, nothing really came back suspicious. I took a look in the car, saw some items in the vehicle, but it appeared to be secure, just the dome light was left on. I continued to drive down Bellevue, turned onto Turnbridge Drive, and then a left on Brook Drive. While I'm driving, I generally use my spotlight if I'm looking for any subjects or any suspicious activity. I can't recall exactly where, but I have, it's a general practice of mine. I ran some vehicle tags, some plate numbers that were parked on the street. Found most of the vehicles that I ran were actually parked in front of their houses. Continued down to the dead end of Turnbridge before turning left on Rock Creek Drive. I then took a right on Dell Road. Continued before taking a right onto Drury Lane, West Drury Lane, and took that to Landor Road. Traveled up Woodcliff Road and turned left. Eventually took a right onto Shady Brook Drive and then a left onto Hillendale Drive. Followed that around and turned right onto Spring Valley Drive. Took that to Laster Mill Road and then turned right. I observed a couple other things, a red sedan occupied by an Asian male traveling southbound. I turned around and ran the plate on that vehicle just to document it. Nothing suspicious. I then observed a dark-colored SUV traveling northbound on Laster Mill. I turned around and followed that vehicle, ran that information, again finding nothing suspicious.
Interrupt you right there,
Yeah.
Officer Strong. You said you were looking for using your spotlight to see if you saw any suspicious individuals out there that night. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any suspicious individuals at that point that night?
None that were out and about on foot. Really, the only thing that I saw were the vehicles that were moving. No people that were seen.
And did you have any suspect descriptions that you were looking for at that time?
I don't recall what it was. I do remember in the CAD call that they had some like multiple subjects, but they were vague descriptions.
So at this point in the night, you didn't see anyone,
No.
right? And continue on in terms of your investigation at that point.
I turned right onto Ramblewood Drive. I pulled into the parking lot, the public vehicular area of 441 Allister Drive.
And 441 Allister Drive, is that the apartment complex?
It is. I observed 4 sedan vehicles parked in the same row of parking spaces next to the complex. I distinctly remember one vehicle was a silver-colored newer model Dodge Charger. I turned around in that parking lot and drove out, turning right onto Ramblewood Drive. I then turned right into the next drive and followed it back to where Officer Wagner was taking the vehicle break-in reports.
Officer Strong, when you're driving through that apartment complex parking lot, did you ever stop there in the complex?
I didn't document that I did. I'm sure, looking for people, it's a general practice that I would stop, get out, walk around, again, use my spotlight. I didn't document it, so I don't recall specifically, but it is a general practice.
And so you yourself do recall being in that parking lot that night, though?
I do.
Do you recall any suspicious activity that you observed while you went through the apartment parking lot?
I did not see anybody out on foot. I didn't see any dome lights on or cracked doors of vehicles, anything like that. So, other than what I've documented, I didn't see any suspicious.
And there's been quite a bit of testimony about that apartment complex. At that time, in May of 2013, was the complex generally under construction except for that one building?
Correct. I believe that was the only one that was occupied at the time.
And there's been testimony about a fence that separated the occupied area from the unoccupied area. Did you ever go into the unoccupied area of that complex?
That night, I don't believe I did. I do remember the fence, and I did go into those houses at one point that were under construction. I don't recall if it was that night.
How about there was a breezeway in the occupied apartment building? Did you ever go into that breezeway, get out of your car and walk around?
I don't believe I walked into the breezeway. I vaguely remember turning into that parking lot. I do know I turned into that parking lot. I don't think I walked up to the actual doors or the breezeway out there, because we were strictly looking for vehicles being broken into.
And you mentioned there was a Dodge Charger, but you also said there were other sedans in the parking lot as well.
Yes.
And again, at this point, would it have been your practice or general practice to use a spotlight to look for suspicious activity there in that parking lot as well?
It is a general practice, yes.
After you left that parking lot, Officer Strong, tell us what happened next.
I drove towards Officer Wagner, where he was taking the vehicle break-in report, speaking with victims. I passed Sergeant Connors on my way and stopped and spoke with him for a few seconds before continuing to Officer Wagner. I spoke with Officer Wagner, told him what I had seen. Before I left the scenes, or I then left the scene of the break-ins and drove down Ramblewood to Laster Mill. I drove north on Laster Mill until I reached the parking structure of the North Hills Mall. I passed a security officer while I was driving, and I mentioned to him that we had some vehicle break-ins, and just asked him to keep his eye open for any suspicious subjects out.
And at that point, did that officer relay any information to you about seeing any suspicious individuals?
Yeah, he didn't. He stated he didn't see anybody out, but he would call us if he did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Officer Strong, I'm going to approach you. With what has previously been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 13, take a look at that document and tell me if you recognize what type of document that is.
This appears to be the CAD program that that dispatch uses with us.
And I've used the term CAD, and Sergeant Lamprey told us a little bit about the CAD system earlier in the week, but can you tell us what the CAD system is?
It's a computer-aided program that assists with a call taker taking a 911 call and putting comments in the call, being able to classify what type of call it is, the time that the call came in, location that the call, the incident is happening, and then myself I can add comments as well as the dispatcher for what's going on with it before we code it out.
Officer Strong, you mentioned in your testimony now that you went to the scene several different times that night. In looking at State's Exhibit 13, can you tell the members of the jury the different times that you were out there at around the Allister apartments that night?
The suspicious person call I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find here. I did circulate the area. It doesn't look like I was. It doesn't look like that I checked in with the two units, so I may not have been in the program for the suspicious people. But I did circulate the area, and that call came out. It looked like at 12:14 in the morning.
12:14 a.m.
Yes.
And when you say you check in, what do you mean by that?
Check in on the radio, letting dispatch know to go ahead and put me on the call so that I can assist whoever the primary officer is.
So as early as 12:14 a.m. you're in that area.
Yes,
Good. And then do you in fact check in on the call later on?
I did.
Okay. Tell us about that.
At 12:40 a.m., that's when the reported vehicle break-ins happened. And it looks like I'm trying to find the time that I arrived down here. I coded out at 1:49 in the morning, which means that was after I had circulated the area. I don't see the time that I arrived on scene.
So in any event, you're in that area between 12:14 a.m. and 1:49 a.m.
In the general vicinity, yes.
And do you recall if it would have been in that time frame or shortly thereafter that you pulled through the Allister Apartments parking lot?
Yes, it would have been during the vehicle break-in time, so after 12:40.
So after 12:40. And then when you coded out at 1:49, did you go somewhere else or did you stay in that general area?
I don't recall. From what I do remember, it was a little bit more of a calm night, call volume-wise for us. So if I needed to assist Officer Wegner with anything, I'm sure I stayed in the area, or I believe after going to North Hills, I still kind of remain in that Laster Mill, Six Forks area.
If I may approach the witness, sure.
Yes.
I'm going to show you, Officer Strong, what's previously been introduced to State's Exhibit number 5. And if you can, go to State's Exhibit number 5 just kind of show for the members of the jury where you patrolled that area that night to check for the car break-ins and the suspicious person or persons.
Yeah, I traveled throughout most of these roads that are documented. Turn on the apartment entrance here. These appear, sorry, I'm a little bit turned around.
The apartment complex has been identified by this blue
Right.
thumbtack as the victim's apartment.
So as I stated, I traveled by most of these roads. Would you like me to go step by step, or?
No, that's fine, but this is the general area.
Yes, yes, yeah, and even a little bit farther to the west and farther north. So I kind of widened that area.
And when you came into the apartment complex parking lot that night, can you tell us about where you would have stopped and turned around?
I don't remember exactly the angle I came in. I know I pulled off of Bramblewood, I believe. And I do remember stopping in front of the unit. I just don't remember which way I was facing at the time.
Thank you, Officer Stroll. Your Honor, I don't have any further questions at this time.
Cross-examination. Ms. D.
Officer, so you said that you were in that public vehicular area or parking area after 140, and it would have also been before 149?
I believe I coded off the call at 140. Yeah, 149 is when I coded off the call, which meant I was finished with it. So it was in between 1240 and 149 was the breaking and entering a vehicle call. But before that, from 1214, I was in the general area.
Okay. So the 1214 to 149 is the window of time you were there, and then the window of time where you would have been in the parking area is between 1240 and 149.
Yes.
And you mentioned a few times that at one point you went to where Officer Wegner was?
Yes.
He was responding to one of the breaking and entering calls?
Correct.
And we've heard about various ones of those over the course of the trial. I was just wondering if you could just tell us by location where it was that you went to meet up with him, if you remember.
I remember he was back by a gated parking structure. So I drove back towards, I believe, the new construction to where he was.
Sort of on the other side of the construction, there was a big sort of multi-unit condo building.
I believe so, yeah. Townhouse or condo, I'm not sure.
Okay. And this may seem like an obvious question, but you said that you didn't see anything suspicious during that time. You didn't see anybody who you later were able to identify as Ronald Anthony or Sarah Redden or Travion Smith?
No, I did not see anybody.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Waller.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
Further evidence for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, this time the state would call Officer Wegner to the stand, and I would ask to release Officer Strong. He's here off of a night shift. Thank you, sir.
Sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go. Thank you, Chief.
Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right, please. You solemnly swear the testimony you give this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Waller.
Thank you, sir. Officer Wagner, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Will you please state your name for the court?
My name is Officer Eric Wagner with the Raleigh Police Department.
And Officer Wagner, how long have you been with the Raleigh Police Department?
This month will be 11 years.
And tell us a little bit about what your general duties and responsibilities are as an officer with the Raleigh Police Department.
For 11 years, I've worked in Patrol Division, North Side. I've just responded to 911 calls, emergency calls, calls for service.
Going back to May of 2013, specifically May 14th of 2013, were you on duty, duly sworn, and so employed as a Raleigh police officer?
I was.
And sir, on that date and time, or on that date, did you have the opportunity to respond to the Allister Drive area?
I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you responded to the Allister Drive area?
I initially responded for a suspicious person call. Someone had called in stating that they thought they saw somebody going through car at the intersection of Bellevue and Ramblewood. Went out there and went down the street down the intersection, didn't locate anybody on foot in that area. Tried to call back the person that had called in to see if they could specify what car they had seen gone through, or specifically where they saw the people doing it walk off to, and we couldn't get that person to answer the phone. So I just kind of circulated through that area of the Bellevue-Ramblewood area and to see if I could see anyone on foot or see any cars that had obviously been rummaged through, but I didn't find either of those two things.
And may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to hand you two things, Officer Wagner. One, State's Exhibit 13. Do you recognize what that document is?
Yes, it is a printout of the CAD dispatch.
And I'm going to ask you to refer to that during your testimony. I'm also going to hand you State's Exhibit 5. I know it's kind of big. If you need any help holding that up or anything, let me know. But I'm going to take my seat. But in regards to that area of Bellevue that you talked about, can you describe using that map where Bellevue is?
Bellevue is...
Make sure if you'll hold that up, actually, if I may just approach.
Yes, sir.
Oh, maybe it would be easier the other way, but let me help you out.
All right.
All right, there you go.
Okay. So Bellevue in Ramblewood would be just west of Six Forks, just south of I-440.
And that's the area in which the suspicious person call came in?
Yes.
And referring to State's Exhibit 13, Officer Wagner, can you tell the members of the jury what time you responded out to that area?
I received the dispatch at 12:17, and according to CAD, I arrived at 12:22.
And so when you arrived there, you arrived in this area at
Yes.
12:22 a.m.?
Yes.
When you arrived and checked out the suspicious person call or suspicious person's call, did you see anyone there?
No, we didn't see anybody on foot, or for that matter, there was nobody in a vehicle either in that area.
Were there other officers out there assisting you?
At the time, Officer Williams was dispatched with me as well, and so he responded to that scene to also circulate through the general area.
And how about Officer Strong?
I believe Officer Strong also responded. I don't believe he actually was on the CAD call, but I do remember him on the radio at some point saying he was around.
And is that kind of a Raleigh practice that even if you don't check in per se on a call, you can be assisting other officers in the area?
Yes, that's a pretty common practice, just so that people can still be free to get other dispatches, but still assist in things without being tied up.
And what time did you arrive there on scene?
I arrived on scene at 12:22.
How did you go about investigating the suspicious person call?
For a suspicious person call, I said went to the intersection. I was trying to identify, because in the call it says that they ran up into a wooded area. When you go to the intersection, this is at night, there's some tree lines, but from where you could see, there's nothing that seems like true woods when you're out there. So I just kind of walked to the tree line to see if there's anything if there's anything worth noting in the tree line at all. Didn't notice anything, and like I said, beyond that, I was just trying to see if any of the cars right near that intersection that were parked looked like they had been rummaged through, obviously, or had their dome lights on. And then, like I said, when I didn't find anything of that nature at the time that was obvious, I tried to call back the person that called in to see if they could be more specific about where the people ran or what car they saw.
You said that where they ran, that was the nature of the call. Did you get a description of the individuals that you were looking for at that time?
Yeah, in the call, it says the description is of the suspicious people are one black male, unknown shirt, red shorts, and one black male, unknown description.
So two black males at this point.
Yes.
Tell us what you did next, Officer Wagner, while you were out there.
While I was out there, and like after I kind of walked to the wood line and kind of went by the cars that were parked, and when I didn't find anything that seemed to help at that point, I just kind of got back in my car and I drove just generally around the area, down Bellevue, and then back over around Ramblewood, just again, because of the time of night, just to see, if anyone was out on foot or anyone matching that general description we had.
Are you familiar with the Alistair apartments that are in this area?
At the time, I was not particularly familiar. They were mostly under construction, and at the time, I wasn't, until the call, I wasn't even sure that people were actually living in them. So this was my first exposure to that complex at the time.
When you were out doing this general, I guess, security sweep of the area, did you ever pull through the Alistair apartment complex parking lot?
At that point, I don't think I went any further than, say, Rolston Drive for that initial call.
So Rolston and Ramblewood kind
Right.
of intersect right
Yeah,
there.
at that point, I think I was mostly focused on the houses and the cars parked on Bellevue, and then kind of the stuff on Ramblewood that I went back through that way. So for that initial call, that's where I was.
You said initial call. At some point during the night, did you receive a second call?
Yes, shortly thereafter, we received a call in the Alistair apartments for a vehicle break-in.
What time did that second call come in?
Second call came in at, I was dispatched the call at 12:43
AM.
a.m., yes.
And where was the location of that second call?
The second call was at 340 Alistair Drive.
And using this map, if you can generally describe where 340 Alistair Drive is, and it may not be, if you don't know the exact.
Yeah, I couldn't say, it would have been, I believe, in this area.
Down towards the bottom.
Yes,
of our
down, I believe, either there or here, in that south end of Alistair, I believe.
Who was the caller on that call?
Caller on that was an Esther Hall.
And again, that was at 12:43 a.m.
Yes.
What was the general description of the call that you received at that time?
That call was it was marked as a breaking and entering of a vehicle that had occurred earlier. The caller said that her car had been broken into and that they thought other vehicles might also have been broken into.
Did you, was a description given of the individuals at that point?
Not in the call, no.
Did you respond to Ms. Hall's residence?
I did.
And tell us a little bit about what you did when you got there to Ms. Hall.
I made contact with Ms. Hall, talked to her about what had happened, and when I talked to her, she added some information noting that this had happened relatively recently, which wasn't really denoted in the dispatch, because when I talked to her, she said she had actually thought she had seen the people that had done it, but she said that she was also half asleep, so she wasn't completely confident at the time talking about a lot of details about it, but she felt like she saw the people going through her car.
What time did you actually arrive to her residence?
I got to her residence about 12:52.
How long would you say you were there with Ms. Hall?
With her specifically, probably not exceptionally long. I'd have to guess around 10 minutes or so, just to kind of go over everything with her and clarify what she saw as best she could. And
What did she tell you that you saw out there?
just to her statement to me, she said that she was half asleep on the couch, and I thought I heard something. I looked out from my window, and I saw what I think was a tall black man and a black woman going through my neighbor's car across the street. The man had a flashlight. Then they walked out towards Ramblewood. Then I went out to check my car, and I saw my GPS was gone, and the interior had been gone through.
And after she gave you that information, what did you do?
After that information, I relayed, because at that point, there was 2 other people on the call with me. So I relayed to them what I was told about the description, and that this was a little more recent than maybe the call initially indicated as far as when it might have happened. So I gave them the description she gave me and the direction, And then after that, I tried to make contact with the other vehicle that her neighbor that she said had been gone through, and I tried to make contact with that person unsuccessfully.
You said unsuccessful.
Unsuccessfully, I went to the door of the owner, of what appeared to be the owner, and I couldn't get anyone to come to the door. So I ended up leaving a card there after I tried for a while, no one would come. And then from that point on, I tried to go by the other cars in that parking lot just to look through them and see if they had been messed with, and if they had been, to try to make contact with those owners.
Did you see any other car break-ins at that point, Officer Wagner?
In that part of the parking lot where I walked through, I didn't see anything that seemed obvious as a break-in. It appeared that these were all going to be for unlocked cars at the time. So from what I could see, it didn't look like anybody had been gone through, at least not in an obvious way.
Did you notice any other car break-ins at that point in your investigation?
Not in that part of the investigation, no.
Did you at any point that night go find any other car break-ins?
Not at that point, no. I walked through another parking lot and checked those cars, and beyond that, I didn't find any more break-ins at that part of the complex.
You said there were some other individuals with you, or other officers with you at that point. Who was that?
It was Sergeant Connors and Officer Strawn.
What were you having them do at that point?
They were just circulating through the area of the Allister Drive apartment complex and Ramblewood, Bellevue, where the other call had been, just to see if we could find anybody remotely matching that description. Especially at the time of night it would be somewhat out of the ordinary for people to be on foot in that area. So we were I just had them know what area to look for and what to generally look for to see if anybody was out.
Do you know if you or any other officers found any suspicious people out there that night?
From what I remember, I don't remember anybody being seen on foot that was remotely close to the description we had to work with. So I don't recall anything of that nature being relayed to me.
After you spoke with Ms. Hall and checked the cars for break-ins, what did you do?
At that point, I went back to my car and started writing the report. I thought I'd stay in the area just in case we got more calls for more suspicious people, so that way I'd still be in the immediate vicinity, could respond quickly. So I kind of stood by in that general parking lot for a bit, just to be ready for more calls and just to observe if anybody came back through the area. So while I was writing my report.
And when you say stayed in that parking lot, are you referring to the parking lot down on the...
Yeah, the parking lot down there, which were mostly townhomes, I believe.
And after you wrote your report, did you circulate the area some more?
After I finished the report, I cleared, and then I put myself out on a security check in that same area, just so I could kind of roll through the area again. And again, I probably went in my car back through that same circle of Allister Drive at the bottom where the townhomes were, and then back out onto Ramblewood in that area where that first call was. So I just kind of went through in my car again, looking for anyone on foot at all. And that was probably around 2:20 at that point, I'd say.
At any point, Officer Wegner, do you recall going through the parking lot of the apartment complex?
I don't believe at that point I don't recall going further north, because I know Officer Strawn and I believe Sergeant Connors had gone through there. I believe they told me they had. I don't recall myself personally going through my car up to the apartments, because there was a large construction area, I think, between where the townhomes were and where the apartments ultimately were, that we found the next day. So I wasn't especially aware, but honestly, that there were apartments on that end to go through. But I stayed south in that area where the call was, and then back towards the area where that suspicious person call was.
You said you came on and did a security check. Is
Yeah.
that time reflected in the CAD report?
Yeah. Security check I initiated at 2:19 a.m. and cleared that at 2:33 a.m.
So you were in the area until 2:33 a.m.?
Yes.
And to be clear, Officer Wegner, what type of vehicle were you driving that night?
I was driving a marked Crown Victoria.
Blue lights?
Blue light sirens, blue and white car.
And then Officer Strawn, what type of vehicle was he driving as well?
The same.
The blue and white
Yes.
standard Raleigh
Yes.
police car?
Yes.
At any point, Officer Wegner, do you recall if you were using your spotlight to look for individuals?
I don't recall Not in a specific way. Doesn't mean I didn't use it. I just don't recall specifically using it on any particular area or anything, other than maybe in the beginning when I went to the suspicious person call and I was looking in the wood line. Initially, I think I might use my spotlight to look in the wood line since it was so dark in there. But beyond that, I don't recall using it specifically.
And Sergeant Connors, do you recall what type of vehicle he was driving?
He was driving a blue and white marked Ford Explorer.
So all three of you, the officers that were out there that night, would have been in standard Raleigh police?
Yes, it was standard. It would have obviously been police cars and police officers.
Thank you, Officer Weber. I don't have any further questions.
Cross-examination.
Officer, you told us that this was the first time that you had been out to the Allister apartments?
I believe it was. It's the first time I remember ever getting a call out there in that area, yes.
Okay, and by that, you mean specifically that building where Esther Hall lived?
I'd say generally that whole complex, because I know there's apartments and there was a large construction area,
Okay.
and there was townhomes. I had never been to any of that before that day.
So you don't know whether the building you responded to might have been built sometime before, or whether they had just finished it, or anything?
Yeah,
like
I
that?
couldn't say this. I wouldn't know specifically when those were finished. They all looked new, and
Okay.
because there was construction, I assumed it was new. But yeah, I don't know when it was actually done.
Okay. And you mentioned that one of the things you were looking for were dome lights. Is that because people will turn on people's car lights sometimes?
Say it again. I couldn't.
You mentioned dome lights, as did Officer Strawn.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you look for because people will turn on lights when they're going through people's cars?
Just typically when you have a rash of break-ins, when a lot of times it's usually going to be an unlocked car, and a lot of times the cars will be left with the doors open after they're gone through, and so because the door's open, the dome light stays on. So it's
Got it.
usually a
Open
good
door.
indicator.
It's an open door check.
Right.
Okay. And when you were at do you remember when you went out to respond to Esther Hall's call, did you pull into the parking area behind that building, or did you park in front of that building?
I believe I parked in front of her building. If I remember, from what I remember of them, how they were laid out, I believe I just would have been in front of hers, I believe.
So your memory is being in the parking area in front of her building
Yes.
and checking the cars that were in the same area.
Yes.
And do you remember ever going around back, or do you remember just being out on the front?
I can't specifically recall what was behind that building, if it was another parking lot or if it was another building itself. I don't recall offhand. I know I went through that front part and it was connected into more cars parked and then a covered parking lot. So I remember going to those next cars that were parked and then going into the covered parking lot and going and just taking a quick look at the cars in the covered parking lot and seeing if anyone was hanging around in that garage.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, sir. You may step down. All right, sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go. Further evidence for the state?
State would recall Detective Gibney.
Detective, do you recognize you're still under oath, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good.
Thank you, Judge. I was logistically trying to figure out how to do the next 30 minutes. Detective Gibney, before we recessed, I had asked if you recognized State's Exhibit 72, and you had said that it was the interview that you conducted with Travion Smith. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And we talked about not being able to edit it in any regard. Have you had a chance to review that prior to coming to court today?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time the state would move to introduce State's Exhibit 72 into evidence, noting Your Honor's rulings about certain sections. I will tell the court for purposes of planning, I believe the first section is about 20 minutes long, so that could get us right till about 5 o'clock, and then we could resume in the morning.
That's fine. Any objection?
Not objecting to the 20-minute aspect about it, but noting our objection to reasons previously stated.
All right, those objections are overruled except as otherwise discussed, and so Exhibit 72 is allowed. And yes, you may, are you asking to publish it right now?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you may go ahead and start that.
And in accordance with Your Honor's rulings, I'll start it at 8 minutes and 22 seconds.
All right,
into
very
the-
well. And let's see, where are you publishing that? On this screen?
On this one, yes, sir.
All right, why don't we turn it a little bit so the jurors can see it?
But for whatever that is for, I have to read you your Miranda rights. Have you ever been read these before? I already know. Yeah, I looked at your past and stuff, so I know this isn't your first dealing, but I want to give you as much respect as you deserve, okay? All right, if you have any questions, just tell me to stop, all right? Before we ask any questions, you must understand your rights. You know the right to remain silent, not to make any statements. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions, and to have him or anyone else with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to you by the courts before questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions right now without a lawyer present, you still have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer. And how old are you? 20. 20. Okay, so that one doesn't apply to you. All right. You ready? Can we talk about some stuff? All right. Are you willing to sign this saying that you'll talk to me? All right.
I don't even know what we're talking about anyway.
No, I'm gonna break it down for you, man. I just want to make it, yeah. That's just saying that you understand your rights. You're willing to talk to me. Thank you. What's your middle name? Devonte. Devonte. Don't be stealing my pen. Devonte. All right. Devonte. All right. So basically what I want to do is kind of go through your day today, okay? I'm not pointing any fingers at you, but obviously we were watching the Walmart parking lot. There's some stuff going on that we were watching. Obviously you know now we're watching you and Ron. So what I want to do is to just lay it out there, and we got Mike across the way, and he's telling us some stuff, and what we just want to do is just get to the bottom of this stuff, and that's basically it. Are you tracking me so far?
Yeah.
Not pointing fingers at anybody. I just want. What?
Who's mocking me?
Well, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So the guy who's here with you, you know him, right?
Yeah, we stay together. Michelle is another from ex-girlfriend that stayed up there.
Who works at Andy's?
Michelle. And the other roommate, he works at Andy's too, but he was off today.
Michelle works at Andy's and Amber works at Walmart. All right. What are you chewing on? Oh, no, that's cool. I'm cool with that, man. All right, I was making sure your grill wasn't falling out. All right. And Amber works at Walmart. Okay. So you left the house today in Oxford.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all rode to Raleigh or Wake Forest?
No, we was leaving Oxford to go to Wake Forest. Ron was coming from Raleigh from court yesterday to come back up there, and we were also going to go back home tonight whenever.
So were you supposed to meet up with Rob?
Yeah, but Ron, we was also, because he had work yesterday, so he got his mom to come up there and pick him up. And she picked him up, she took him down there, stayed the night with her, woke up in the court, came back up here. And we also sit there waiting till 8 o'clock when Amber gets off work, so we can go
8 o'clock p.m. tonight.
So when Amber gets home.
So you're all going to meet at at the Walmart at Wake Forest at 8 p.m. tonight. And y'all going to go back to the house?
Yep.
Alright. Okay. Which one of y'all sold a computer today? And it's okay, we just need to know, and I'll explain it to you.
Oh, I sold one.
Okay. Alright. And do you know the name of the person you sold it to?
Not really. I know he's a friend of Ron's.
To a friend of Ron's?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Can you go through that with me?
Oh, we know. Alright.
I mean, okay, so I'll skip through some pages for you to make things easy. So you're at Walmart?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he sent his girlfriend over there to pick me up.
Who said whose girlfriend over there?
Whatever Ron's friend name is, the clips, the gray clips, I think it's gray. Look like a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To pick you up?
Yeah, so pick us up. Well, pick me up.
Okay, so pick you up.
Yeah, I went out there.
And you went, okay.
It was just me by myself, me and the girls that were driving.
You and the two girls?
Yeah.
Alright, where did you get in the car? What part of the car did you get in?
Right down by the moment.
No, I mean, did you hop in the front?
No, not in the back.
Alright.
Because there was two people in the front, I couldn't get around.
Alright. Well, we have the video from there. I just want to make sure you didn't hop in the van. You know what I mean?
It was right there, bro.
Okay, alright. Okay, so you get in their car and then what?
And then we go over there and
Can you describe the house?
I don't even think it's a house. It looked like some old college dorms or something. I'm not from Wake Forest. I'm from Raleigh, so.
You're from Raleigh?
Yeah. So.
Okay, yeah, so I know where you are. Okay, so you go upstairs, or you go, alright, go ahead with that.
So went upstairs, went in his room. We sat there playing a game. Smoked a little bit with me, and what was that? He was like, bro, you don't have no electronics? I was like, yeah, I mean, I got a laptop that I got from Ian on the south side. He was like, oh, what kind of laptop is it? I was like, bro, I don't even know, bro. It's complicated. I was like, bro, it's complicated. I don't even know.
Okay.
He was like, let me see it. I took it out, let me see it. He was like, how much
So you got the laptop in your bag?
So he was like, how much you want for it? I was like, bro, I really don't want to sell it because I don't have nothing to look at my son's picture on. He was like, bro, I'll buy it right now because I want it for myself.
Okay.
I was like, you gonna buy it right now? Then just give me $400, you can have it.
Okay.
So he gave me a little bit of money right then. I was like,
How much you think he gave?
right then?
Yeah.
Right then he only gave me $37.
Okay.
And that's where the weed came from because I had weed to go back home and smoke.
Okay, but you left the computer with him?
Yeah.
Alright. And you were under the impression you'd get the rest of the money at some other point, or? Okay. Alright.
I told him I really want to stress it because I don't be in Wake Forest like that. When I come down here, then I just get your number from Ron, I guess, if he got it, and call you.
Okay. So what about, somebody sent him, that same guy that you saw a picture of another computer yesterday. Do you know who that was? Who sent that? Was it you? Okay.
Mine is the one you got from me with silver.
Okay. How long have you had that computer?
Actually probably like a couple days.
Okay. Where'd you get it?
I was on the south side visiting my parents because my dad don't want me coming by the house. Situation, and I guess he's feeling bad because he kicked me out.
Okay.
While I was.
So where'd you get it from?
Over on the south side, like I stayed on Lakeville Road at the bottom by South Sanders.
down to you. So you can either wind up being a witness and cooperating, or you can wind up being a potential suspect because that computer came from something that's tied to a homicide, okay? So what we need to do is to be fucking honest about this. And I'm sorry, everybody who always gets caught with stealing shit or with having stolen stuff say they get it from a fiend. And after doing this for 15 years, it just doesn't make it anymore. So hold on a second. So you need to really think about it because this is some serious shit. I mean, we're talking, you are possessing something that you could be charged with, potentially be charged with accessory to murder after the fact because of what you had in your possession. Does that make sense to you? Is that registering in your head?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So the whole fiend thing, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to disrespect you, but it's just not going to cut it, man. It's not going to work. Okay? So think about yourself. Don't think about anybody fucking else that you need to protect, because when people get situations like this and they wind up the severity of it, you're going to have to tell the truth, because if it comes out, you're going to be hammered. So let's think about it, okay? And I can tell there's more to your story. So let's be for real about this, okay? Me and you, right here, right. The fiend thing is not going to work, dude. Because I'm telling you, if I went to the magistrate right now, and the DA and said, look, he's got a computer that's tied to a homicide, boom, you're going to get charged with accessory after the fact.
But how does I even know anything about it?
That's just the way it is. So I want to give you an opportunity before that happens to you to really narrow it down and say where you got it from, because from what I know, it would make no fucking sense for that computer to be down there. Okay? And with all the cameras, hold on a second, and with all the computers we have, or all the cameras we have down there, I'm going to tell you right now that didn't happen. So let's please, for your sake.
You talking about at Walmart?
I'm talking about you getting this computer from a fiend down the south side of the Lake Wheeler Road. That shit is just not gonna,
What thing? In Harris Park?
I know. That's what everybody says. It's just a popular thing to say, but it doesn't. You're gonna wish that you tell us the truth, okay? So if you're involved in that burglary or in somebody getting very hurt, then now's a good time to say it. Or if you know somebody else, now's your chance to either talk to me as a witness and potentially walk out of here without getting charged with anything having to do with that computer, or you could potentially get charged. It's up to you.
That's what I'm telling you. I don't know. I'm thinking when I got the computer that, it's some college students or something. Maybe he just snatched it and trying to get it away so he can go get whatever he needs to get.
Okay.
So that's what I only had. I only bought it for like $30.
Okay. And so you know I don't believe you though, right? I mean, you can tell I don't believe you about my body language, right?
It's understanding you don't believe you're a police officer. You're not supposed to.
I wouldn't be a good detective if I believed everything everybody said. And what I'm saying right now, it doesn't make a damn lick of sense. So I'm telling you that this is your opportunity. If you know something more about that computer, and it's going to come out eventually, that you need to break it down now, because seriously, me and you right here, right now, can talk about it. But once you're done and you're gone and you're headed downtown, that is it. And you're gonna be stuck holding charges, and that's it. Okay? Because you possessed stolen property. That's another felony. And it's associated to a horrible fucking crime. Okay? So that's it. It never falls in your court. Just what you decide to do. If you want to stick with the story that I got from a scene down on Heritage Park, you know as well as I do, ain't no jury, no one's gonna believe that shit. No.
I can understand that, but how would I be charged with something if I didn't even know it was stolen?
You ever been riding in a car and it's hot and you didn't even know it?
No.
No. Well, let me tell you, if you're riding, just say your boy picks you up in your car, in a car. You're like, damn, that shit's sweet. Y'all go rolling. Y'all get pulled over. Guess what? That car is stolen. Guess what? You charge possession of a stolen vehicle.
If I'm in
yeah, everybody gets charged. And today, you had in your possession a computer, and you sold to Mike, because Mike told us. So you're at least being truthful about that. I know that. So Mike gave you, or you gave Mike the computer, and you even told the truth about the money, how much it was. he's hanging out with you, so he's stuck in the same damn situation. You know, I think he got court that day. When Friday? If I'm not, I know he had court sometime last week. I can't remember if it was Friday or not. Okay. And can you describe this fiend for me? And by the way, by you describing somebody, you realize that, I mean, you're digging yourself a hole, you know what I mean? Because I'm not buying the fact that this happened, but I'm giving you an opportunity to figure out, damn, they're going to figure out I'm full of shit. You know, I mean, honestly, I'm just trying to give you respect, man. I think it's only fair for me to tell you that there's no way none of us are going to believe that jury, and the jury is not going to believe that either. And it still doesn't change the fact that you possess that stolen computer. Yeah, I understand that. Okay, so now you're possessing a stolen computer that has something to do with somebody dying. So, that's crazy. Well, yeah, it's crazy. And you know, it's not crazy for me because unfortunately I deal with that on a regular basis. Yeah. You know, whether that person, it was meant for that person to get hurt or not, they did. And we're dealing with it. So you actually possessed something that was a very serious piece of equipment for us. So I don't know how you want to handle it. If that's your final story, you're sticking to it. I don't know what to say for you, man. But we're going to consult the district attorney's office before we leave here. Where's it? It's a telephone call. It's right here in Wake County. It's the DA's office, the district attorney's office. Still don't know where it is. It's in the courthouse. Oh. It's in the courthouse. So that's what we're going to go with. However, I believe I've been fair enough to you by telling you what you're looking at. I could not have told you. But I did, and that's what you're looking at, okay? So we're going to be here for a little while. Between that time, if there's anything you think you need to tell me, holler at me, okay? Because you're showing me respect by talking to me, but the same thing of where you came across that computer, man, I hope Ron doesn't tell us he got it from you. That's all I'm saying, dude. You know what I mean? Because you know how people do. Everybody's boys. But when it comes down to crunch time, ain't nobody going to be paying anybody's girl's bills or they're locked up. You know what I mean? Oh, man. I was thinking about Melissa. Well, I mean, the time I'm going to look at this picture right now. Well, crazy. But I'm just saying. The other officer, was he still out there? The one that brought us up there? No. So he said he was going to get the officer to take us out one by one and about to smoke, like smoke a cigarette. Yo, do you have him with you? Cigarette? Look, actually, Ron got me a pocket. Ron does? Okay, he was going to give me one. Alright, yeah, you'll 100% have a chance to do that, okay? But it's going to be a few minutes. Alright, and I'll be back in here to talk to you. But in the meantime, there's 2 officers out here. Just knock if you need anything, okay? Okay, alright. Seriously, I would think extremely hard about what you're dealing with here because I don't know if you've ever been in that situation before, but this is probably the most serious situation you can be in. If it goes beyond being in possession of a stolen computer, it's worse than that. Okay? So think hard about it, and if you decide to change or to come off a little more than you're holding in your head. Alright? Yes, sir. Alright.
All right. We'll go ahead and recess for the afternoon and resume tomorrow morning at 9:30 with the remainder of this exhibit. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll be in recess until then. If you'll gather in the deliberation room at 9:30, recall all the rules and instructions. Don't talk about the case with anyone or allow anyone to talk about it in your presence. No media or independent investigation. Don't talk about this case among yourselves. Please have no conversations with parties, witnesses, or lawyers, and please don't form or express any opinions about the outcome. I will ask juror number 7 to remain behind just a moment. You gave me a note about, or through the bailiff, a note about scheduling, and we'll talk very briefly about that. But the rest of you, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30. Please leave your notepads in your chairs.